No redemption, not even in the slightest. Do you understand? My dad was like that. I don't know if he took stock at the end of his life and truly repented. I hope he did. Like I said, when everybody dies, we'll find out. Did he make it or what? Right now, I don't care to even ask. I don't want to know. Because I don't want to get hurt about the prospect of him being in Hades. I don't. He was given time. He was given prostate cancer. So he had time before I talk about. Is that basic, and he wreaked a handsome amount of havoc in women's lives, including second wife Yahaya. No conviction about marriage and remarriage, divorce, all these things, and certainly no conviction about alcohol, no conviction about how to raise children, all that jazz. Mewaka never remarried, and the lack of remarriage of my mom was not sabotaged, that much I am certain of, by my dad spiritually. No, that dog was never into witchcraft. Which is why I get why that think that they're like that want to proliferate generational curses. You are gonna be worse than anything at all that my family were, because my dad was not the best of men, but he also was not a witch. So bana ba ba loyang ba di ritualist le batla o tlisa di generational curse, the generational curse, sorry, in chats at brand spanking new. Bearing the pakania like it's the first day of school for a child out here in like grade 2. My dad was not a ritualist. So I'm using any that was history. History on its own was bad enough. You're not gonna make the situation worse, okay? And out here in Patang high and low. The other day we let go YouTube loko panel di Monetize and abakena the Lord showed me kabare unugutwala. One like my dad. Dude, you have been disqualified in the worst way. I'm a Monetize unugutwala. He went there. Aloko panale wanted to have a meeting with them. Babanza bali busy basinya the videos about banza bafota bazalwane basebeza certain people basebeza go YouTube. Wafika to have a meeting with them over there, and his monitors were like unuga utwala. One and he's drinking especially hectically these days. Because I'm gonna drive a tent peg into your temple. Is that basic? And again, not only was my dad not a ritualist, he also was not a hybrid. That was unredeemable. Mamela, this person is trying to bring a brand spanking. That is the reason why I am redeemable. As angwayenza abantwana that are not sindisirable, because they were not redeemable. My dad, Mamela, Haleto introduced the generational curse mojarate. I'm already dealing with the batch that exists right now. So anyway, I told you that story briefly, just to get to the point of helping you understand what my mom went through largely. And then next thing, she's now single with 2 kids. She's got a degree. She should have been able to just grow. She should have just been able to just carry on more lifing as normal. I remember a time when she was sweet. Now she is a most gnarly monster. And I can't even recognize her. Like I say, part of the shit, bootstrap bill, part of the scene. Will you accept that? Taking up Davy Jones's offer. There came a time when my mom was like, okay, so after the divorce with my dad, a few years after it, something that never reverted. I remember the day when my mom changed. Not the day, but the season. I remember it like it was day and night. Like it was up and like proper, black and white. I remember when she changed. And she never stopped. So essentially the majority of my mom's existence with me has been cold. There was a time when one day she went cold and never turned back. Wabanda one day and it never changed. What do I blame that one day yokubanda my mom on? Go say exactly what all of y'all did. Nonsense. What decided I'm just gonna do what I want to do more life thing. It is what it is. Situation. Bamlandela bamvimba ngamacheresi bamatshwara ka di-washing dimpentse diare ha o yenda manje, whether you got a degree, whether you got a job, whether una le bana tshwantse ba godisa una le batho that are like, I cannot die, you're gonna die. I cannot daba, you're gonna gurgle blood. I cannot daba, you're gonna khokhoba. Angnandaba, ha ona ntho e khonang le noma. Una le batho ba senang taba go mosadi o singile o godisa bana ba liwana. To them it's like, hey ehle, ha o tlo ba something changed in my mom, and I remember, how old was I? Primary school, Winchester Ridge. Not Winchester, but Mayfair. I was in Mayfair Convent. I went to Winchester Ridge Primary in standard 3. That would be grade 3, 4, 5, 5, right? That would be grade 5. And the change in my mother happened when I was going Mayfair Convent, somewhere along those years. So either grade 2, 3, or 4. Either grade 2, 3, or 4. So from around the age of 9 to 11, my mom changed. I remember it, and she never came back. Agabuyanga lomfazi uhambe that day, and I blame Oluhi. The very thing that is vimbering all of y'all right now, that has changed you, transformed your characters, and made you like bootstrap Bill, part of the shit, part of the sea. You be SpongeBob. You be my mama's SpongeBob. She's Ariel. Da 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 da. Uma watleng musariona and I can't say what grandchild puyo pumanini. Elwan. It's been decades. I mean, how much more callous do you become over the years? You become worse and worse, to a point where you can watch your own child die and do nothing and tell yourself, "Utisonke, we did what we had to do to get ahead." Umuntu that was very sweet, a beautiful young woman that was the Ntswembu West in the room. Ugcinenje uyi-Satan. Manje, if amadoda can go and grab abafazi and make them so satanic, now not just amadoda but chicks, witchcraft, black community, nyemitiyen, if you can go and take amaswikonyana etu and make them crooked things, njefela ezichegile, ezikobegile, ezikrom, atle, tshwantse lo boma halebon. Nah, I could over die there. How long gets a grom? How long gets a grom? How long gets a grom got worse off generational curses even than those that are afflicting my mom. Gukrom da. My dad na ya krom. Ukumuntu krom. Kotwa. Gune krom enye different, very varied. Yeah, today. Yeah, 2026 it's worse than Westgate. Yeah, 2026 hectic, intense. It's got an exponent on it. It is out here growing virulently. It is metastasizing like a cancer, a fungus on the scalp that you keep on feeding with sugar and more yeast. Aye. Non grant ntho e leng yona e worse than ya batswadi ba rona la nkutlwa le kotsi and nna he jwanong a ke batle on khelekenyana khafare ena e hectic e le blomileng go yona, cause nna ha go betchetswa ke outinyana e tlong fang bana ba leng mixed masala ka Satan, cause I can really experimenta ka bo exponent worse even than abazali bethu. Worse than Westgate. Okay. I remember from around the age of 8 to 9 all the way up until the age of 11. From that season, go Mayfair, that's when my mom changed. She went all awry on me. Not just me, but all of us. She stopped taking care of us. She stopped doing our hair. She stopped taking us everywhere. She started focusing on the boyfriend instead of us. There was a time when my mom was not just jollering rough everywhere all over the streets, where she was just largely single. And then when I was in late primary, all the way throughout high school, I know and these here madodas, I would come to learn now. These here statistics, I'm not bringing them out just so as to spread my mom's dirty laundry all up in these streets. I'm trying to help you understand how generational curses and how it is that a woman is influenced rubbish, and how it is that if you don't resist this thing, like I said, you're not going to recognize yourself in the middle. You will love Zamat. I remember a time when my mom I know Maragwawa, and throughout growing up, she kept on going back. She kept on going back. I have been taken to the kereke, almost every weekend. She fell off. And that's why today, because I held on to God in a way that she just couldn't. And it didn't give, because Hannah Rapella, she felt like you took time. I am not content in every circumstance. Precisely because through the veins in order to cause umfazi to do whatever under heaven she needs to do to get ahead. So to feed your kids, or to take them to school, or to buy their uniforms, except in the black community, rarely ever are you going to find a child being left out on a limb. In the back room at the back of your mother's house. How do you get it? Move back flat ya how a townhouse ya how keep on to your house and keep on paying bond. So the prospect of losing all that, that's why I get a pressure. I can understand it, but insofar as I am talking to you guys from a vantage point of being in the world, Mara once now I got over what people think about me and what car I'm driving, because Christ became the pearl of great price, and also surviving hellfire for me was just enough, to get me to be like, yo, yes, and I know who should be enough for me to latch onto the Lord and for me to keep on testing to see if I'm in the faith, because it is worth the while, worth of an incentive for me to latch onto and gaze at very, very carefully. I can't go to hell now, I'm truly born again. But I need to keep making sure that I am truly born again. I must live a life of constant checking to see if I'm in the faith, because assurance of salvation is ascertained insofar as you are self-examining. So there was never going to be a time in history where we were gonna starve. Only not live exactly where we want to live. Only not live kofleting. Only have to be downsized or downgraded and end up recognized school maybe kasi or whatever. Never without education. It is in the fact that it was a classist decision that my mom was making to allow herself to go out a particular way. A dagger right by your ear when a trained assassin is out here being made to miss because God is out here keeping you alive. And I feel the thing changing was decide after pressure mounted. I remember a marked time where my mom started, instead of taking us to church, bringing abo babs ban ejardini batlothela mimetsi. I remember when we moved into the house go Winchester. It was a new house that she had built off plan from the ground up. Look at how low babs ban didn't help actually protect the house. And that thing in 11 that someone crash up, he had our surname Samsung Goma man una kena go jaratenga lothela mimetsi go di fensterenge go ntlungu kulo water of evil spirits to make sure that nothing comes in there. In the beginning at some point it became like that. Mara before when we were living in Winchester Hills, not once did we ever go to church with my mom. Mara when we were still living and happily go Dobson, not was it Dobsonville or whatever, where my mom was roommating with this one friend of hers. Where we used to attend Grace Bible Church just when it was starting. I don't know what it used to be called back then. It was a tent, and yeah, we attended there weekend after weekend after weekend. I know we stopped attempting church. She stopped attempting church with us. She stopped because she imagined it was not pulling through for her. So we've been through this Marana I'm a car about the rescue when you're not gonna defect, you're not gonna make like a prodigal. You're not going to, after being frustrated, my sister. You're not gonna do it, my baby. And so God kept me, He preserved me. But listen, what was imperative in that whole thing was studying. I just fell in love with God. I was besotted, and it just never, ever lifted. There are some servants of the living God that don't defect. They don't ever become prodigals. They don't leave home. And I'm that thing. So your attempt to make me apostatize, likely it is also inspired by amatimoni. It is in my bloodstream. Your defector. And if after defection, accommodate a married man. Accommodate and just anything to get ahead. It isn't my generational curses, but listen, go and read the Lord's word in the book of Ezekiel Spanban. It is the soul that sins that shall die. I don't inherit my parents' futilities, insofar as I latch onto the Lord. So therefore, those which are the blessings of righteous men, I will enjoy them, albeit my parents falling apart violently under travesties. My dad tried to be a Christian proper, fell apart because nasa khonu focasa. And so too did my mom. I am the thing on which the gospel caught and never left, while my parents are to drop the ball violently. So we get that the generational curse of my parents to start out with God but then fall apart is a thing, but I chose Jesus and Jesus chose me. I just want to speak the name of Jesus. That's what we're doing all the day long. Okay. So now that we have put that particular informational point out there, let's then go on to, like I said, speak about how I saw a marked difference in my mom when I was in early to mid primary. Americans would call it middle school. It was more like middle school. Around middle school or early to late primary. Middle primary. My mom went to Wachencha and then she stopped being all focused on Banaba High. And that's when I started enduring pain at her hands. That's when I started enduring neglect. Engwe ehetiki. Ukhetile oswaka. Focus because also I was a late bloomer. My older sister was a star student and teachers, so my mom decided to focus all her energies on her. I started enduring that level of negligence at my mom's hands, and it hurt me so badly that it made me suicidal as a child. I just like proper And that's why I got close to God. Because I go Mayfair Convent where my mom went awry. I get already Mayfair Convent. Mayfair Convent was just that, a convent school. It was Catholic, so therefore they used to give the gospel to a certain extent over there. I was kind of pious in that space. I can't say I was born again because I desperately feel like I was born again only at 26. However, I feel like that's when I was called. I officially surrendered to God at 26. But those which were the seeds planted at the time when I was a child. They were those seeds that were planted as a child. They flourished ultimately. And when I was in primary school, go Mayfair, I loved Jesus. I loved God. I did. Like I really, really did. Focus. And then because never got di ruta go skolong, nerea go mass, and never the Bible stories, never the hymns. The school was just focused on God. It was a Catholic school. So I loved all that activity. I enjoyed it immensely. And I also used to pray. Like I had this friend, the two of us, nerea go chapeling every day after school. Of our own volition, the same chick betrayed me. She would later on become my best friend, but then she would betray me. So, and then when I was moved to Winchester Ridge Primary, which was like a pagan school. No, it wasn't pagan, it was just government. But it's actually giving pagan. When I moved to Winchester Ridge Primary, oh my goodness, it was so evil. Listen, it was just not godly. Even though we used to sing hymns in assembly, etc., it did not have the level of Christianity or Catholicism as Mayfair Convent. So essentially, me moving from Mayfair to Winchester stopped a process that would have probably just carried on, and I would have then gotten more convicted of sin as time progressed. Like if I had carried on in either Catholic or Christian schools, I would have likely been saved as a teenager, and that still to this day is the biggest regret that I have. Like breaking my virginity and being interested in boys and all that jazz. I never would have done that if I had stayed in Catholic schools. I feel like if I stayed in either a Catholic or a Christian school, that never would have happened. But I guess the devil will know and I'm getting all hectic. And then moved me to a government school, and I was influenced by that. A process was stopped because when I was in primary, if I had not only stayed in Mayfair Convent all the way to the end, but then maybe as for high school went to like maybe Macaulay House or something. If I had gone to another Catholic or Christian school for a high school, I would have been perpetually maintained in training. And mind you, when you get to high school, they would also start to focus on sex education, no sex before marriage, etc. And that conviction, seeing as the first time it was trained me, it sat and it never left. If at all I had been reached at 14, at 12, if I had been reached at 13, I never would have broken my virginity at 17. I thoroughly believe that that's a thing. I would not have left God, even though I would not have been trained God by my family. I would have been trained to God by my school, but it would have been enough because as soon as I got given God, I latched onto him. I listened, I did not move. So me moving to a government school ruined my life. It made me date. Anyway, whatever. So at the very same time when my mom went aloof and awry, I went to Jesus. Like he became my solace when my mom was weird. He became my solace when she was negligent. He became my comfort. Oh God. And I used to talk to God. I actively remember talking to him, and I remember feeling the spirit of God. But like I said, I wasn't born again. I couldn't have been. There's no way that I was a prodigal this whole time. Like I just wasn't until 26. I asked God that the other day. I was like, God, was I a prodigal from the age of like 11 to 26? Was I saved? Is that why people were so weird to me? Is that why I just never could gel with the world? Is that why? Was I saved just, not yet? Said, nah, I couldn't have been. But listen, I do remember a day, especially one particular day when I was out just speaking with God, and the same presence of the Holy Spirit that I feel every day now, it was there, and I remember that day. So maybe God was convicting me from without, but I don't. Listen, I wasn't. There's no way. I was not saved. If I died, I would have gone to hell. I was not saved. I wasn't. Listen, I've always been at enmity and at odds with the world, but I wasn't saved. Listen, I wasn't saved. I wasn't. I wasn't. I wasn't. If I was saved, I would have been. I wasn't. I couldn't have been. I thoroughly believe I was born again at 26. I don't think I was a prodigal. Like, I don't think that I was born again as a child at 11 or 10, and then at 26 found my way back home. I will find out in heaven, but I don't think so. I think I was saved at 26. The things of God always just piqued my interest, but that's not evidence of the fact that I was born again. I feel like I was just called, and God knew that I would only ever be ready for ministry and whatnot at 26. Anyway, whatever, but I had a close relationship, I would imagine, though I don't believe in the loss of salvation, so there's no way that I could have had the Spirit of God and then it leave me, which is why I don't think I was saved, okay? Because once you get the Holy Spirit, the Spirit stays. Like, he's not in and out like a light, a switch, like hazards. Like, no. So I don't know what in the world was going on when I was a child, but I certainly did have some relationship with God, and I used to talk with him every day. It was a very tight relationship, but from without me. Type establishment thing, and that kept me going. It was my solace, and it also saved me from a lot of my own self-harm, a lot of my own self-issues, and my own whatever that I was going through as a result of my mom. It also awarded me undue favor that I could not understand as a child, and also as a young adult on the come up. Things that were supposed to basically just go over my head didn't. I was given a grand deal of favor. However, once I came to Christ, all that favor, it appears, fell apart. Listen, I had the biggest and baddest of favor in the world until I gave my life to the Lord. It would look as if though God destroyed my life, but it was that God was building me, and then once my spirit was strong, he endured me through Job's trials. He endured me through Joseph's trials, for the very purpose of me delivering this message today. So I have seen the favor of God all throughout my life, in spite of me being unregenerate in a large part prior to my redemption, and enough for me to be like, I'm not going to leave God, because he has evidently been here all my life, even before I knew him. Anyway, whatever, there was a marked difference in the way that my mom was when I was in primary school and God became my solace. I moved to another primary school in standard 3, grade 5, and there I just became full-on pagan. I just stopped focusing too much on God. I was always praying the Our Father. Listen, that never stopped all the way up until I got born again. Every night before I slept, I would say the Our Father. I'm still doing it to this day. It's like my staple, okay? I did the Our Father while I was a fornicator. I did the Our Father while I was cohabiting with a boyfriend. When I got born again, the Our Father finally has significance and meaning, as opposed to it just being a rote mundane prayer that is being prayed. Now it finally had meaning, and so therefore there was girth to it, okay? My mom's exorbitant neglect of my person, Satani, also you did it in my mom. The way it's almost as though the devil could see that I'm called, and one day's one day, and so he just caused all this calamity in my life through my mom, and made me I was the one person that was always with my mom, yet the one child that she just could not care less about. It was the weirdest thing. Anyway, whatever. Cool. That's what happened over there. Mara, what I'm trying to help you understand is that I was made to look at it from the bleachers as a spectator from the time I was a child, and I made a decision once I was older and in varsity, and also working my first jobs, that I'm not going to be my mom. Because it wasn't attractive. And I happened the squandering, the wasting of Umfazi that is the baddest in the room, and yet out with the worst misfortune in the room. Umfazi that was so beautiful that and I was just like, yazini, I could maybe I'm better off because I'm not as pretty as her. I thoroughly don't think I'm as pretty as my mom. Some people might beg to differ, but I like proper. I think she's more beautiful. My features, except for maybe Spoko. Even this mole over here, my mom has it. Because almost it's not black. Mine is black. Yeah, it's brownish. It's exactly on the same spot, like the exact same spot. I took my dad's hands and I hate them. Everything else, legs, feet. Strangely, I look like my dad, though all my features look like my mom. But as I've gotten older, I've looked like her. I also basically present like her, I age like her, I carry like her. My dad is also tall, slightly taller than my mom, so of course, that's what in the world under heaven Archie is giving. Heavily, I remember one time overhearing a conversation between my mom and a friend of hers, like as in maybe beginning of my career in corporate. I remember her saying, "Yo, Uspan even liked me. I only found out after Anyala." He had a crush on me. I was like, Anjani, how did that guy go past me? Why didn't he holla? So my mom's stats essentially are mine. Out just spazzing over guys, liking them, but they never pursue. And then later on, after bachata, some other women, Kenya. Listen, it happened like clockwork to my mom. And now it appears to be pursuing me like Ipantiti Archer in these ugly, dirty streets. And I'm like, I don't care. Mara, Modimo has made me enough of a fly on the wall concerning my mom's activity for me to successfully conclude now in these 2026 streets that I'm enduring my mom's fate but without my mom's mistakes. The soul that sins shall die. Mara, my mom's fate is not going to be my eventuality because I am born again. It is that the Lord is showing and there was a time when you were a sweet konyane. There is a marked day. As everybody can be out to be able to earmark it, identify it by spot day, by pinpoint it. Or everybody can knows what to chinchinini. And all up in my grill, even the youth that are my age, I can tell you what maybe not exact date, but certainly ijar. The cousins shortly after I got born again. Maybe I got born again in 2011, maybe 2012. That's when everybody went awry, because that's when everybody tried their first spell. That's when people that were relatively good people went awry. That's when they changed. That's when they stopped being cool hangouts. And manje, when people change on you like that, we have a born language. No good different. If I want to upon changing on you, you're gonna make a decision with now that you are seeing that's your takata now. I know it happened with my mom. It's not happening with me. Just because you want to doesn't mean we were good people's go varsity. Up to a certain point, and then next thing, I'm a change way and my mom na ubona machine, and so because ubona machine na washinsha. Washinsha, never mind against just abanye abantu washinsha ngithi nabantwana bakhe. And manje mina after angichenjela I got PTSD, but I ran to God. Angizochenja mina because ngichinjelwe, and angizothakatha mina because ngithakathile. Bolwebo bona le commencement date buswiti ba ka ha botlonkiwa ke feisty ka tlhaloga mara eo yona is because once le gwariwe a ke re la tena mara bumini oba cold nje fela o ska smilela batho tla o kwatile o jile matlapa ntho yona ke soka ke tlhaloganya ga le ke le sweet konyana, and I ke tlo change. I'm not gonna be that mean-spirited girl that can't greet people ongena ndaba nabantu o tsetseng ka sabotage, two-faced backstabbing. Mosadi o tlo tlogela ngwana ga go a sotlege dijara tse kaofela abare he kaofela we did what we had to do to get ahead. Ehle o se a bona go change. Alright, no, kulungile. I'm not going to do what my mom did. Mamela, I just won't do it. And I made this decision already when I was, like I say, varsity early career, early starting to work. And I remember there was a time when my mom went all through this hardship waba on the credit bureau. And after my mom was on the credit bureau and couldn't get a house, couldn't get anything, struggled to get a job, I said to myself, I will never ever be on the credit bureau. I'm gonna make sure my debts are paid. I will never ever abandon my debts until I am on the credit bureau. I'm on the credit bureau today. No, not because I didn't pay my own debts, but because I lost a job after my mom during the same time when prior to me falling apart and losing everything at work. While I had moved back home and paid off all my debt as a result of moving back home from my apartment because I stopped caring about what people think. Ow, you live at home with your mom at such an old age. Yeah, but I don't have a debt. And I'm only doing this so I can finally afford to buy myself a house. Because I took God's advice when he said, oh no man, nothing except love. I paid off my debt. But then one day, because my mom, I confronted her for bului, and I did not have anything. And so I had to take out loans to buy furniture, take out a loan to raise rent, deposit, 1 month, or get to move out to a new apartment. And at the same time, I was also doing this for my dad, who also was moving from the place where he stayed to where I was moving him. Making enough money. I didn't have enough money of a salary coming in to do this all in one fell sweep in 1 month's salary. So I took loans with FNB and the private banking because I was private banking at the time. Yeah, because I used to earn good money. Okay. I took a loan with them, telling myself, I'll pay it off within 6 months, within a year. It was an unexpected expenditure, but I'm gonna pay it off real fast. As because I lost my job. I lost my job, and after I lost my job, MTN refused to give me back my pension money. Ew. Yeah, so over the months, I just found myself getting called by creditors, couldn't pay them, And then I found myself on the credit bureau. It was not of my own fault. It was not like my mom who just did not pay debts because she was prioritizing. It was because I didn't even have a job at all. And no one came through for me. It's like these generational curses were like, I don't care that in yourself you're responsible. Life is going to happen such that you're going to endure her fate. Fine, very well, I'm on the credit bureau. But I'm still not anybody's crazy wife. And I'm also not anybody's crazy baby mama. And I'm also not everybody's crazy mistress. Where I can exercise control over my outcomes, I will. Because I choose Jesus. The Lord knows that I'm on the credit bureau because life happened to me. But the Lord will not understand that I went and became a mistress of a dude because life happened to me. There are things I couldn't control. But where I can control, mamelang, dream on like you're in REM sleep upon being experimented on by Freud's experiments. Like, mamela, we will out here do a dream journal for you. Laura, haletlong kokotela beki bula. Ko le thunya shapo mo mountain. Lentse le lipis le kokota ko my floor. Bese ngithi poo poo poo. Next time you come, you will miss a toe, brother. So just go. Ha ko bula mnya. Ha ke shelech. Mamela, a ke shelech. Mara banna ba nyetseng ba tlo nna ba ntse ba mpatla. For as long as I'm yet to be married. They will pursue me because this year is spiritual. It's a generational curse. Etlong patlang high and low kebe ke nyale. Yung natella morao. Mara it was within God's prerogative hore ke tshireletswe. Ntho e lateletseng mme wa ka morao. Ya be ya moraba sa ya mo senya to a point where jwanong tshwantsa lo bola ngwana hae. Mamelang ditho tsena di na le root. Bo snacks tswang monna. Bana ba passing up beautiful women because you feeling that you umuhle too much for you to marry her. Bese miyothatha ama plain Jane wenu. And years down the line, you want to go and grab a woman that was marriage material and make out of her a side chick because onona le kwababa too much ukushela. That stuff happened with my mom. I've been passed up for dumb reasons by guys. Do you understand? Bese bazofuna ukungenza a mistress. And that's why basadi batengi ba batlatchileng ka person downtown Joburg. I cannot have your little doorbell honeys. I called them that the other day, but I also now in this video spoke about how it is that they be out here mistress proofed by them wives. I'm not gonna keep a man together with sticky tape. Listen, I ain't doing it. He be out to making like veneers. He's not the real deal, but he's making like teeth. Just biting into stuff. I'm not mistress proofing a house. And I'm also not a mistress. But understand, my mother was one. So, ke tlhaloganya ka every bone mohara mmele wa ka o hectic more. Ntho e mpatlang ena le bopaki ba taba hore ntho e ke tswang ko yona Grandshop facilitates for a conveyor belt to carry this thing to term. Ke na le a spirit that out here has been laying prostrate before this capitulation. It's my generational curse. Because the soul essence shall die. It's something it lays claims to me. It is laying claim to me because it has got apparently legal right to be in my bloodline. I guess with your veneers. I don't care. With your fake teeth and your little menacing general disposition out here passing a woman up, and then after you marry your wife, best also get a mistress when I could have been your wife at all. Like, listen, you're a veneer, you're a fake tooth. Get out of the way. You are apostate and debilitated in your general core. Listen, I don't care about you all. Okay, yeah. Now that we've put that out there, I capitalize on the generational curse. Knowledge is power. And so, since I was a university student, I'm getting yoba that thing. I'm not gonna then go yoba that thing because it is only in Christ that you succeed to not be into. Ngobu mawa komega bogile. Ngobu makhulu bhogi akunayinto engabhokanga la eJardini. Ngobu antu akhomega bhogile. Ambani nonke no I'm a generational curse way. My older sister, never under heaven would I have ever imagined would ever be this diabolical. Overnight and became like my aunt. I could not understand. My man and my sister was so good people's only fresh right. One day overnight, the fella was switch or something. Like my aunt. Gunama root cause to why people become like this. And these root causes make out of them essentially generational cursed randos. Otlo nonzo lawyer also how all the way up until I so file also obeles o gno sabale taba ka go wetsa lang ka bana ba teng how each of us feeling a we born how each of us feeling I was born dog no but you can't recognize what's going on. Remember I told you that my mom has a sister, a sibling born to the same mom, same dad. Oh, I'm like that. In the worst way and she was not like that. I remember a simpler time in youth where she was so much better. Now today, Hashem, kya rabazwa, kya senywa, kya fokotswa, kya tolwa, kya oswa, wang tolla, ngatinga manzi. ngare ke motogo o tsologileng mo fatshe o phega motogo, and because wa chisa o bo wisa pizza kaofela pa mo kitchen floor o ntsolla jwang. That's my sister. And I spice get that needs a life. I'm a human being. Back to the drawing board over and over and over and over again. I got spy. Listen. I my mom. I get una divorce. I remember my grandmother when my mom moved out of Ntriyai. She begged me to stay, and sometimes I wish I could have stayed. If I stayed with my grandmother, I'd have less PTSD. That's what I'm getting at. But my grandmother died when I was 16, so at some point I would have been reconciled to my mom anyway. But by then, I don't know what would have been like. My mom's relationship with me would have been so distant that it would have been awkward to live with her. So it's a good thing. With my grandmother, I was not gonna do that. I was not gonna stay. Like, still to this day, I don't think it was a better option. I wanted to be with my mom. Anyway, whatever. Type establishment thing. So she got divorced and then tried to be normal. However, couldn't, okay, because she was being sabotaged by the whole planet around her, including a sibling. Next thing, next thing, next thing, this, my mother could not catch a break, and so she stopped doing church because she was like, Mamela, it don't get it, and she consulted Disango. And that's when Inkatazo came in Jardini, where my mom was just out here dating Wotla Banji. I'm a daughter that. And when I got older, you know, when you're a child, because you're a child. But when you get older, you're like, why would my mom accommodate that guy? Why would my mom date that dude? Looking at your mother, the way why? Like, Papa, why did you jolt with that guy? She started using men as a salary. It was a matter of convenience. She just was like, proper during the time when we were staying in Winchester. The way that things were so unstable financially for her, she just, like, she did what she imagined she had to do. And then she tried to just stop because it was hurting her. But when she stopped when she stopped hurting herself by being a mistress, everything fell apart. Like, as in, we end up living in a room, go the back of a room, yo, like Mamela. Okay, so when I was at Winchester, she dated this like guy that I would later come to learn only once I was not saved, but only once I was much older, and I overheard her having a conversation with my cousin on the phone because God wanted me to overhear it, that he was married. I thoroughly thought that man was single and he was dating just my mom because he was always go high. So therefore, he was never with his wife. Whoa! Like these men that love their mistresses more than their wives. Like that man spent so much time with my mom that all of my mom's boyfriends, I wasn't a fan. But lo time because he used to spoil us. He basically treated us the way that a dad would treat kids. And he grew on us, and he also helped my sister get a scholarship in Italy. That is investing so much in another woman's children. And your wife is probably always crying, dog. When I found out that this man was married, I was like, that comes home after work to get either it's war all the day long, but I found out that, and my mom said on the phone to my cousin, okay, the thing about married men is that you don't bother them with their wives. And so far as I was like, I didn't know, because that man was just so fatherly and so around and so available, more even than my dad, that proper a good 75% of his time was meaning that was abandoned in favor of my mom. Mamela, the generational curses of my mom. You know why I call this guy, I have to say this stuff because it's eventually Mamela, the amount of suicide I was endured under. I was like, if I don't tell the story, because I'm busy out here protecting my mom, if I don't tell it, lazy are not gonna realize they're never gonna tinter me. You know how I keep saying like like that is old, and he's a but matlisa that is in his 60s, almost my mom's age, slightly younger than my mom by a few years. Like the reason why I describe the reason why I describe Mkabawachache as lekoko, letileng, la soccer. You know how lekoko is like a hard soccer ball? It's because the Lord describes how he looks to the man that my mom was having an affair with. He was a married man that was older than my mom. And I remember it because he used to like hugging us. And every time we would hug him, you know how when kids hug, you're so low in comparison to people. older people, like abadala, and so your head kind of lies on their stomach as you're hugging them. That's how kids hug, like hi. And so you lie on a person's mukaba, like their torso, because you're so low as a child, you're so little that your face is on their stomach when you're hugging them, right? And I remember this man had such a big mukaba, and it was so hard that when we hugged him, as my sister and I, because I told you he was so fatherly, he was so loving, that he would insist on hugging us and whatnot whenever he would come over, and his stomach was so hard. I just remember his stomach was just so hard because my head was always just on his stomach every time I would hug him. Hi, Abud Tom. Let's say his name was Tom. I was like, hi, Abud Tom, and then hugging Abud Tom, and my head was always just on Mkabawake, and it was just so hard. And it's just one thing that I remember, that Mkabawake no tile dog. It was like hard, like this here, mouse. Okay, it was hard like my mouse, and it was something that as a child just, it stuck with me, that yo Mkabawa Abuti Tom Udile. Like it's hard, like it's hard. I've never touched a fat man's stomach before. Just stroking it. I've never dated a guy that fat. Like I've never. Neither have I ever tried to squeeze a fat man's stomach to see if it's soft or I've never tried to squeeze a fat man's stomach to see if it is soft or hard. But I have, as a child, hugged a man with a hard stomach that was with my mom. And it was so hard that I can't do no other thing but remember it. And I remember the reason why I compared to Likoko La Polo was because I had to find a description to help you understand just how hard that man's stomach was. So this man is offended, he's insulted when I call Mukawai Likoko Mara Unkopota Abutom. God showed me that and he gets angry when I say that, but he's just a reminder of who my mom used to be with. And while I was not grossed out by Abuti Tom, because he was fatherly, he was an older man that I did not disrespect him. Nonetheless, I made a decision as a child, as a young woman, a teenager, not a teenager, sorry, but a young adult in varsity, and also in my early career, that I will never ever allow myself to lay with a man or slander or old or attracted to en. How my mom and that man broke up was because that's just the thing about married men. Like, they are so inconsiderate over their wives. He wanted a child with my mom, and my mom was like, because that man was ugly. He was very kind. He was a gentle giant. Very spoiling. He was very fatherly. Do you understand? And he was so fatherly that he helped my sister get a scholarship because she was so smart in Italy. Yeah, Mara, he was somebody else's husband. And and he was dark, like right? And he also had a scent, a smell that I still to this day I remember it. A particular way. I can't say that, like I can't say that I didn't. I can't say that like Mara, that smell. I even remembered it when the Lord showed me a vision of a man like that trying to come into my life. And he's gonna spend do you understand? And at some point demand. And why my mom and that guy broke up was because my mom was like, I'm not gonna give you a child. Like, but she didn't say it in so many words. Well, I don't want to have a child with you because I can't want to move in. Movie. You are too ugly. My mom was properly. She said that to her friends. Like, she had a conversation. You know how older people. Babu and one of my mom's friends, Unadula, not far from where we stayed, and we went to go and visit her. And I was just sitting there in the lounge as my mom was out there chatting with her friend. And she was like, yo, Tom, when I go to toilet wrong. She was like, when I go to toilet wrong, I don't want to give that man a child. He's too ugly. So, the thing that I keep saying, please, I'm like my mom. I don't want no ugly babies with a crazy guy that's gonna mess with my genes. These things run in the family. So when I'm like, my mom had the same concern, and that's why she didn't give Tom a baby. And as a result of refusing to give Tom a baby, the relationship between her and Tom ended. I think he was upset, and shortly after she and Tom broke up, we lost the house at Winchester Hills. It's not that Tom was paying for bond or whatever. My mom was an independent woman on Itebeleza. But after she broke up with that guy, you dog. These ritualists. For as long as you right. Mara, you dare dump me. You won't know whether you're coming or going. So abuti ona 60 something. When I compare umkhaba wako to Ikoko boy, it's only cause God says that you are similar to die abuti Tom. Ufana no put Tom, a big giant man. Oh nato batlang for everything and then put ugly babies in my stomach. But as soon as Njefela I left you, everything that you gave me I would lose it. Everything that you gave me I would lose it. Lomudlona mega si spoiler lankutra mega na ma connections amenye a hectic. He was a wealthy man. But as soon as my mom was like no thank you, all over. So that's gonna give you comfort for a season, and then when you decide you don't want to give him a baby, he then leaves, huffs and puffs and blows the house down. I'm not going to make the same mistakes as my mom. I not only understand the spiritual nuances, but I also understand the physical ones. I don't know how my mom, finding a man ugly, could allow herself to lay with him and like proper. So it's not a matter of principle and just to keep on getting what do you call this thing, a transactional relationship. I don't do that. Like I like for the sake and then you just lie there under some dude that you are not attracted to sufficiently enough to even say if I give him a baby, won't sufficiently enough to say if I give him a baby won't sing it manje le ndoda le yekoko ufana vele no put Tom umobe keskobo umonto. Not that Bontopo snacks in it. The guy the guy from Ghana that I said that he didn't walk but he glided. Yeah, he was a beautiful dark chocolate man. Mara le Bontopo ngonde fela habo mo babolo mo fe sfatlhong sa monna. Mara asa buyeki. Men alle scattered all across Momolomong. It's just gonna be like, yo, it's like pitch black afro. I'm sorry. Mara manje when you are just hanging out with pitch black afro. As like this gorgeous, my mom was like a hard knock yellow bone. As like this gorgeous, intense lady. Joe. And next thing, every pitch black afro you're like, yo, when I go to like a man was I felt like momolomong or in the gums, like too many teeth in the mouth. No, abuti askis hare. So I kept my mother properly said that, and the relationship ended because I think this guy demanded a baby because he felt entitled to putting that in my mom, given that only to utusite my mom so much like my sister. Nandefela, he just bought me tons of McDonald's, but that was it. Whereas with my older sister, he actually hooked her up with quite the opportunity that essentially skyrocketed. It commenced her whole entire life career. Like, yeah, her success. It sees where he landed. Not my younger, but my older sister. And the same man, my mom, took me to a psychiatric specialist to check if I was mentally ill or what, because I was hyperactive as a child. Okay, I was really mad about that. And they put pins in my face, and when I came back, because they put me under severe anesthetic, I was scratching my face on some, why is my face so itchy? They put a whole bunch of needles in my face to check if I'm crazy or what. And my sister's the one that told me what happened. She was like, there were needles all over your face. They were checking to see if what I was like, how dare they do that? Yeah, so basically this dude was just there for my mom for all things. And when there was concern about a hyperactive child, this man was the one that paid for medical expenses to take me to a psychiatric doctor to check to see if I'm still all there. Anyway, whatever. I told you that story. I told you that story to help you understand. This guy, it's only because God compared him to that guy. His physical appearance, he had described what to me, basically showing me all of my mom's infractions. So no, ever since I was a kid. I'm on my final short, look at that. Ever since I was not a kid, but like an older kid, like a young adult, I refused. Like, and you know what? I have stuck to my guns successfully. But never in my life did I imagine that I would never get married. And also, so they don't struggle with marriage, but they do struggle with just horrible marriage. So there are just these new curses trying to infiltrate themselves into my life that don't exist in my family. Abafaz bagiti, they don't struggle uguchatwa. Kodwa bachata inyongo. Nyongo. There's no issue with spinsterhood. I'm a Gimoncha. I am making history as we speak. Abafazi bakithi bayachadwa and futhi very early in their 20s. 30s is late. So frankly, I dodged the bullet. Banyala rubbish. Banyala is just absolute rubbish. I don't have a single aunt that was single and a spinster that had children out of wedlock. Every last one of them babilele ba na mohara manyalo. So ndinjata them patlang ngwana. Like you, like proper people are trying to introduce generational curses into my family because they are exploiting a situation. Size namane baggage yethu ebolile. Kodwa kunezinto ezenzilwe right la ekhaya, like marriage, like children in wedlock. All of them, listen, all of them bangeze and then had children. And my cousins were the ones that are to be giving baby daddies kids. Mara the baby daddies whereas their parents married and then children in a wedlock. So like I said, kids be out introducing brand spanking new generational curses to a family. Mara spinsterhood. Like I said, I'm making history. I'm making it, not even my sister. A spinsterhood is new, which is why I just don't be thinking it's gonna give. But whatever, we don't know. I guess I'm losing confidence. Mara, not anymore. Now that I'm busy talking for all these hours, I'm starting to feel all kinds of better. Alright, so this here dude, and I told you my mom, right? And then after that, so not only this here dude was one of the ones among the last randos that my mom was with during the time when we were staying in Winchester, because Winchester we were there for a few